Hello again, you're watching the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive tonight. Time to see what's making the headlines with the Daily Mail's consultant editor Andrew Pearce and the Daily Mirror's associate editor Kevin Maguire. They'll be with us from now until just before midnight. So let's see what's on some of those front pages. The Guardian leads with the Ukrainian president's plea to Western leaders to help stop his country being, quote, erased by Russian forces. Picturing a tearful woman taking cover in a Kiev metro station with many other people, the Financial Times has the headline, Russians batter Ukrainian cities. Putin lays waste to cities, says the Times, which focuses on the bombardment of civilians in Mariupol and Kharkiv. The Telegraph leads with the reported surrender of the strategically significant city of Kherson. Using an image of a mother cradling a baby in an air raid shelter, the Eye declares, welcome to hell. Another infant is on the front of the Mirror, which pleads, for his sake, for his future, stop. Meanwhile, the Express leads with discontent in Russia's ranks after the country announced 498 of its troops had now died. The Metro describes the Ukrainian people's resilience a week after the invasion as their finest hour. The Star dubs protesters who blocked a road to a nuclear reactor heroes. The Mail says the Duchess of Cornwall will give a substantial donation to the paper's fund for Ukrainian refugees. And The Sun splashes on that news that Chelsea owner and the Russian oligarch Roman Abramovich has announced that he will sell the club. Just a quick reminder, scan the QR code that you see on your screen during the programme and you can check out the front pages of tomorrow's papers while you watch us. Right, we're joined today by Andrew and Kevin. Lovely to see you both, if only it was in happier times. Let's start with the Telegraph, shall we, Kevin? First city falls to Russians. Quite a significant moment, this, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm afraid it was inevitable. It was going to happen sometime, and it seems to be Kherson, where the electricity, water had been cut off. There were no trains out. The mayor wanted to end the slaughter, didn't want Russian troops shooting civilians, so they've surrendered. And according to the Telegraph, certain conditions have been imposed. People are only allowed to go out in ones and twos, not large crowds, curfews. And Ukraine, the heroism and defiance of the defenders has been rightly praised, but they're just heavily outgunned by the Russian military machine that's been assembled by Putin. May not have gone as well as Putin had hoped early on, but the onslaught is there. And we can see from the TV pictures and reports coming out of Ukraine, all the still pictures in newspapers, that the armour is coming forward now. More missiles are being fired, the shelling of cities, and it is absolutely horrific as we're watching this unfold in part of Europe, 3 hours flight away from the UK. It's on our doorstep. It's on our continent. Unfortunately, we've been used or too often to seeing these terrible scenes in the Middle East and parts of Asia, parts of Africa. But here it is now happening in our neighbourhood, in our time. And it is absolutely heartbreaking.
It really, really is. And reports coming out of Kherson, we're not too sure what's going on there. But, Andrew, it does feel like today there was a definite change in how the Russians are attacking, basically, didn't it?
Yeah, they're going back to classic siege tactics now. The great 40-mile convoy of tanks and armoured cars is still making incredibly slow progress, thank God, to the Ukraine capital. So Putin is relying on, it's almost the cowardly way to fight. He's bombarding civilian targets, schools, hospitals, orphanages, nothing sacred, a university flattened, with the heavy firepower he's got, which the Ukrainians can't respond to. He succeeded in capturing one city. Others will fall too, but he's going to have a hell of a fight on his hands if he thinks he's going to get into the capital. And other cities will also resist too. It is an extraordinary experience watching this. The heroism, the bravery, seeing those men putting their families, their children on the trains and their wives. They have to stay, anyone between 18 and 60, to fight. And they want to fight because they want to defend their country and they want to repel these Russian invaders, some of whom we've seen are deeply reluctant. We've seen footage, haven't we, on Sky today, of young Russian conscripts captured, bursting into tears. Some of them didn't even know they were going to be fighting in Ukraine. They presumably thought they were on an extended training exercise. Then they discover they're being expected to kill people who they frankly regard as kith and kin. It would be a bit like Welsh people being told they've got to start shooting English people and Scottish people and English people, vice versa. It's really, really a great tragedy unfolding, as Kevin says, right on our doorstep. Who would have thought it? In Europe, one of our most beautiful European countries, and being bombarded. It reminds me of what he did in Chechnya back in 1999, 2000, the siege of Grozny. 8,000 civilians were killed by Putin. He doesn't care.
It really does. It's so heartbreaking, and it just seems so pointless, doesn't it? Let's have a look at the front of The Guardian. Their headline there, Russia wants to erase us, warns Ukraine's president. Also in the last hour or so, the ICC saying that they're immediately going to open up an investigation into possible war crimes. We saw the PM today saying he thinks there already have been war crimes committed.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin, Russia wants to erase us. It does seem that that's what they want to do.
Yeah, I think he's right. I'm not sure it's genocide in the sense of killing everybody of a political, religious.
But using cluster ammunitions, things like that.
Yeah. But it certainly is Ukraine ceasing to exist. Putin wants it to be part of a wider Russian empire, and at most being a vassal state with a puppet quisling leader kowtowing to him. So Zelensky, who of course is their target number one, and you shudder to think what will happen should the Russians either capture or kill him. I hope there are procedures, and I'm sure there are in Ukraine, on who takes over and who attempts to rally the opposition should that happen. But he's right. They want to remove Ukraine as it exists now, as a sovereign state. He doesn't want that. So you understand those appeals, and they're so powerful that he makes. And he was kind of because he was a comedian, he was an actor, playing somebody who became president. He got elected, backed by oligarchs to do it. It was a checkered history, shall we say, in the years since he was elected, but he's risen to this occasion incredibly well. But the Guardian is also focusing too on the humanitarian crisis unfolding in Ukraine with the World Health Organization is warning food is running out. There's problems with medical treatment. People will cease to have access to water. There will be no power because the Russians will target the civilian infrastructure in order to terrorize the population into submission or attempted submission. And some local leaders have to make very difficult decisions on whether they continue resisting or, to save lives, they effectively surrender.
And that's what we're hearing out of Mariupol, the mayor there saying that we have no water, and that is what they're doing, targeting the infrastructure. Andrew, you touched on their fighting spirit, and so much has been made about how they have rallied and Zelensky and how formidable he seems. But at the end of the day, you can have all the fighting spirit you want. If you're up against Vladimir Putin's war machine, inevitably you will fall.
Yeah, look, they can't hang on forever. They haven't got enough food. They haven't got water. He is cynically targeting the civilian infrastructure, power, nuclear power, electricity. He knows how to do this because he's done it before. But the resistance will continue long after some of the major cities fall because so many people have been armed. The arms are still coming in from across the world. Even Sweden, which has never got involved in arming countries before, is sending arms to Ukraine. Germany, we know, is doing the same. So it's a pretty well-armed civilian militia in a sense. But of course, they've got nothing to match the firepower of the Putin missiles. But if and when he does conquer Ukraine, I think he's going to be in for a long, uncomfortable occupation, much like Afghanistan. And we know how that ended in the end. The Russian bear left with its tail between its legs because he could never, ever suppress the Mujahideen. And they fought, and they had the spirit of lions. And that's what we're seeing in Ukraine again.
Kevin, let's have a look at the Mirror's front page, this striking image. Just talk us through that.
Yeah, I'd also point out just after Andrew, of course, NATO, after 20 years of the US, UK, also had to leave Afghanistan. You can topple governments, but it's very hard to occupy and pacify and control a country if it doesn't want to be controlled. It's all about people. Of course, it's about people. This is what it is. And the Mirror has got a picture of a father with a very, very young baby in a bomb shelter. The Eye have done something similar. They have a mother holding one. And this is just awful, particularly when you've got young kids or you're giving birth to babies. It should be a really happy, joyous occasion. You should be you're taking great, emotional support from the child, giving it to the child. And these parents must be worried witless about their children, whether they're going to survive, what's going to happen. And it breaks your heart when you see it now. I'm not sure if Putin's really got any emotional strands left in his heart. The 20 odd years have absolutely hardened him into somebody who is only concerned about Putin and his crackpot ideas and his ideology and his intention to rebuild a Russian empire. But those pictures of those kids, and you just now worry what will happen to happen, because they're caught in a war zone.
Yeah.
And they're in areas that are being shelled. And of course, shelling is it's indiscriminate to a large degree. You can't, in an urban area.
Using cluster munitions. Just briefly, Andrew, we've got 30 seconds. What do you think of Abramovich saying he's going to sell Chelsea? It's on the front of the Sun.
Well, I don't know why they ever let him buy the flipping club in the first place. Blair was in number 10 at the time. I think it's great. He's doing it to protect his back. He wants to get out. He's worried about his money. He's not going to make Chelsea pay the $1.5 billion he owes. But it would have been quite nice if Abramovich, who said the proceeds will go to help Ukraine, but he hasn't condemned Putin.